The Forgotten Legacy. The vast emptiness of space stretched before Commander Ilara Chen as she stood on the observation deck of the Defiant, a retrofitted cargo vessel that now served as her command ship. Stars glittered against the blackness like scattered diamonds, cold and distant. Each one represented countless worlds, trillions of lives, and none of them remembered Earth. "Status report," Ilara said, her voice calm despite the storm of emotions beneath the surface. 38 years old with battle-hardened eyes and a network of scars running along her left temple, she had spent the last decade gathering remnants of humanity scattered across the fringes of the galaxy. "We're approaching the coordinates, Commander," replied Lieutenant Marcus Reed, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "Sensors indicate no consortium patrols in the vicinity." Ilara nodded, allowing herself a small measure of relief. The Galactic Consortium, the ruling body of the known universe, had spent the last century methodically erasing all evidence that humanity had ever existed. History texts, astronomical charts, biological records, all purged of any mention of Earth or its people. Those humans who had survived the initial purge were scattered, forced to hide their heritage or face immediate execution. "What makes you so certain we'll find anything here?" asked Kira Nomura, the ship's tactical officer. "This sector was picked clean by scavengers decades ago." "Because," Ilara replied, pulling up a star chart with a swipe of her hand, "according to the data we recovered from that consortium outpost on Proxima Centauri IV, the Erasure Protocol specifically designated certain sectors to remain untouched, forbidden zones that even their own ships wouldn't enter." The chart zoomed in on a seemingly empty region of space, highlighted in red. "They weren't just hiding us from history," Ilara continued. "They were hiding something of ours, something they feared." The Defiant slowed as it approached the coordinates, its aged engines groaning in protest. For a moment, there appeared to be nothing but empty space. Then, as they passed through a cloud of charged particles, the sensors came alive with activity. "Energy signatures detected," Marcus announced, his voice rising with excitement. "Massive structures. I'm reading hundreds of them." The observation window polarized automatically as the ship emerged from the particle cloud. What lay before them stole the breath from everyone on the bridge. Hundreds of massive vessels hung suspended in space, dormant but intact. Their sleek hulls reflected the distant starlight, revealing the unmistakable human design philosophy, practical yet elegant, built for both speed and power. "By the gods," whispered Kira, "it's the 7th Fleet, the one that disappeared during the fall of Earth." Ilara's heart raced. The 7th Fleet was legendary among the human survivors, the pride of Earth's defense forces, said to have vanished while defending humanity's homeworld in its final hours. Most assumed it had been destroyed like everything else. "They weren't destroyed," Ilara said, a smile forming on her lips. "They were hidden, preserved." As the Defiant drifted closer to the massive fleet, emergency lights began to flicker to life across the dormant vessels. Automated defense systems, recognizing human biosignatures, were awakening after a century of silence. "They're still operational," Marcus said in disbelief. "How is that possible after all this time?" "Because they were designed to be," came a gravelly voice from behind them. Ilara turned to see Zaxpor entering the bridge. The Tellurian was one of the few non-humans Ilara trusted completely. His species, with their stony skin and 4 eyes, had once been allies of Earth before the consortium forced them to sever all ties. Despite the risk to himself and his people, Zaxpor had chosen to help the human resistance. "The 7th Fleet was equipped with temporal stasis generators," Zaxpor explained. "Technology that the consortium has spent decades trying to replicate without success. Your people discovered how to manipulate time itself on a localized scale. And that's why they erased us," Ilara said, understanding dawning on her face. "We weren't just a threat. We were ahead of them." Zaxpor nodded. "The consortium is built on the principle that the ruling species, the Arcturians, are the most advanced beings in the galaxy. Humans challenged that narrative. Over the next several days, Ilara and her crew boarded the flagship of the dormant fleet, the EDF Prometheus. Its vast corridors were silent, preserved in perfect condition by the stasis field. In the command center, they found data archives intact, containing the complete record of Earth's final days. The logs were difficult to watch. Admiral Helena Reyes, commander of the 7th Fleet, had made the heart-wrenching decision to retreat with Earth's most advanced ships and technology when it became clear that the planet could not be saved. The fleet carried not just weapons, but the cultural and scientific legacy of humanity, a seed from which their civilization might one day regrow. She knew, Ilara said softly as the final log entry played. She knew the consortium would try to erase us completely. And she left us the means to fight back, Marcus added. The most shocking discovery came 3 days later when they accessed the Prometheus's sealed vault. Inside were thousands of stasis pods, each containing a sleeping human. Scientists, engineers, soldiers, artists, and children. The best of humanity, preserved in time, waiting to be awakened. Word of their discovery spread quickly through the hidden human networks. From across the galaxy, the scattered remnants of humanity began to converge on the fleet's position. Miners and merchants, explorers and exiles, all drawn by the promise of reclaiming their heritage. Ilara stood in the war room of the Prometheus, now bustling with activity as humans and their few alien allies worked to bring the ancient fleet back to full operational status. On the central holotable, a map of consortium space glowed with potential targets. "We need to be strategic," Ilara warned the assembled officers. "The consortium outnumbers us 1,000 to 1. We hit specific targets, gather more allies, and most importantly, we spread the truth." "What truth?" asked a recently arrived captain, skeptical. "That we once had a homeworld. Most species in the galaxy don't even believe humans exist anymore." "The truth," Zaxvor interjected, "about why the consortium fears humans so much." He activated a data crystal, and a biological scan appeared above the table. A DNA helix spinning slowly. "Human adaptability is unmatched in the galaxy," Zaxvor explained. "Your species can survive in environments that would kill most others. You learn at an accelerated rate. You innovate when others would accept defeat. And most frightening to the consortium, you form alliances across species boundaries without regard for ancient hierarchies." They didn't just fear our technology, Ilara realized. They feared our potential to unite the galaxy against them. As the meeting concluded and plans were formed, Ilara returned to the observation deck of the Prometheus. The ship hummed with renewed energy as systems came online throughout the vessel. Soon, the entire fleet would awaken from its century-long slumber. A message alert chimed on her personal communicator. It was from a deep-cover operative within consortium space, one of dozens Ilara had placed over the years. "Commander," the encoded message read, "the consortium knows something is happening. Admiral Krithul himself has taken personal command of the security forces in the outer territories. He was the architect of Earth's erasure from history. He will stop at nothing to finish what he started." Ilara closed the message and looked out at the stars. For the first time in 100 years, humanity had hope. They had ships, technology, and most importantly, they had the truth. The consortium had spent a century trying to make the galaxy forget that Earth ever existed. Soon, they would remember. And then, they would tremble. The stars remember. Klaxons blared throughout the EDF Prometheus as the massive warship dropped out of FTL at the edge of the Rigel system. Flanking it were 4 heavy cruisers, their weapons systems humming with energy that had lain dormant for a century. "Consortium defense station detected," reported Lieutenant Reed, his voice steady despite the tension. "They're scrambling fighters." Commander Ilara Chen stood at the center of the bridge, her posture rigid as she surveyed the tactical display. "Commence Operation Remembrance," she ordered. "All ships, battle formations." The human fleet moved with precision, splitting into prearranged attack groups. This wasn't just a military strike. It was humanity's first official reemergence into a galaxy that had been told they never existed. Broadcast on all frequencies, Ilara commanded, "Make sure every species in this system hears it." The communications officer nodded, and moments later, Ilara's voice boomed across every communication device in the Rigel system. "To all sentient beings who hear this message, we are the survivors of Earth, a world the Galactic Consortium erased from your records and your memories. For a century, they have denied our existence, hunted our people, and suppressed the truth. Today, that changes. We do not seek conquest or revenge. We seek recognition and justice. The Consortium has lied to you. Watch now as we reclaim our rightful place among the stars." The Consortium station's defenses were formidable, but they were designed to repel conventional attacks. The human fleet's temporal phase weaponry, technology the Consortium had failed to replicate, cut through their shields like they weren't there. "Target their communication arrays and data centers only," Ilara reminded her weapons officers. "Minimal casualties." On the station, chaos erupted as systems failed and barriers between sections collapsed. The station's commander, a high-ranking Arcturian named Voskel, watched in horror as ships he didn't recognize systematically disabled his defenses. "Impossible," he muttered as the tactical display showed his fighters being caught in temporal bubbles, frozen in space. "These weapons are beyond." His communications officer interrupted. "Sir, we're being hailed by the lead vessel." Ilara's face appeared on the main screen, her expression stern but controlled. "Station Commander, your facility is now under our control. We have disabled your weapons and communications. You have two options: surrender peacefully and allow us to access your historical archives, or resist and face defeat. The choice is yours." Voskel had never seen a human before. According to official Consortium records, they were a myth, a species invented by dissident factions to challenge Arcturian supremacy. Yet here one stood, commanding a fleet of ships with technology that outmatched anything in the Consortium's arsenal. "Who are you?" he demanded. "I am Commander Ilara Chen of Earth, a planet your leadership tried to erase from history," she replied evenly. "And I'm here to correct the record." Within hours, the station was secure. Teams of human technicians, led by Zaxvor, accessed the central database, the largest repository of historical information in this sector of space. "Commander, we found it," Zaxvor reported, his four eyes blinking with excitement. "The original archives, before the Erasure protocol was implemented. They didn't destroy the data. They just buried it under layers of security." The discovery was better than they had dared hope. Not only had they found records of Earth and humanity's achievements, but they also uncovered the Consortium's internal communications regarding the decision to erase humanity from galactic memory. They were terrified. Kira said as she reviewed the documents, "Listen to this. Human adaptability represents an existential threat to the established order. Their propensity for rapid technological advancement, coupled with their biological resilience and social flexibility, makes them uniquely dangerous. If allowed to spread throughout the galaxy, they will inevitably rise to a position of influence that could challenge Arcturian primacy." The success at Rigel sparked a chain reaction. As the human fleet moved to other systems, they found increasing support from species who had long chafed under Consortium rule. The Velari, a species of philosophers whose ethical objections to the Erasure protocol had been silenced. The Ket Dominion, once trade partners with Earth, who provided the humans with resources and safe harbors. Even some Arcturians, junior members of the ruling species who had discovered the truth and been appalled by their leaders' actions. But the Consortium wasn't defeated. Admiral Krithul, architect of the Erasure protocol, gathered the largest fleet in Consortium history, 3,000 ships, drawn from every sector of controlled space. "The human insurgency will be crushed," Krithul declared in a galaxy-wide broadcast. "These terrorists claim to represent a fictional world, using this fabrication to justify attacks on peaceful Consortium installations. We will not allow such dangerous delusions to threaten our unity. Ilara watched the broadcast from the command center of the Prometheus, now the flagship of a coalition fleet comprising both human vessels and ships from allied species. "He's desperate," she observed. "He knows the truth is spreading faster than he can contain it. But his fleet is still massive," Marcus pointed out. "Even with all our allies, we're outnumbered 3-1. Ilara nodded, her expression grim. "Which is why we're not going to fight his fleet. We're going to go after Krithul himself." Intelligence provided by their growing network of allies revealed Krithul's location, not at the front lines with his fleet, but at a hidden research facility deep in consortium space. The facility was built around something the intelligence referred to only as the contingency. The mission to infiltrate the facility was the most dangerous operation yet. Ilara led a small team including Zaxavor, Kira, and a squad of Earth's finest soldiers awakened from stasis. They traveled aboard a captured consortium vessel, using codes provided by their Arcturian allies. The facility orbited a neutron star, using its radiation to mask energy signatures. As they approached, the true nature of the contingency became clear: a massive generation ship, unlike anything Ilara had ever seen. "It's an evacuation vessel," Zaxavor realized as they accessed the facility's computers, "in case their efforts to stop us fail." But that wasn't all. Deep within the facility's secured data core, they discovered the truth that Krithul had been hiding even from his own people. Earth still existed. The planet hadn't been destroyed as the survivors believed. It had been quarantined, surrounded by a temporal barrier that made it inaccessible and invisible to conventional detection. And inside that barrier, millions of humans remained in suspended animation, preserved by the same technology that had saved the Seventh Fleet. "He kept them as insurance," Ilara said, her voice shaking with rage as she read the files. "If humanity ever returned, he could threaten to destroy Earth completely." The facility's alarms blared as they were discovered. Security forces converged, but Krithul himself emerged from his command center, facing Ilara directly. The admiral was tall even for an Arcturian, his scaled skin gleaming under the harsh lights, six-fingered hands clasped behind his back. "Commander Chen," he said, his voice oddly calm. "I've been expecting you." "Why?" Ilara demanded, her weapon trained on him. "Why erase us instead of just destroying us completely?" Krithul's expression was unreadable. "Because your species is unique. Dangerous, yes, but also valuable. No other race adapts as quickly or innovates as creatively. We couldn't risk losing those genetics completely. So you kept us as specimens," Ilara spat. "Erased our legacy, scattered our survivors, and imprisoned our homeworld in time." "I preserve your species," Krithul corrected. "The consortium would have voted for complete extermination. I convinced them containment was sufficient." Before Ilara could respond, the facility shook violently. Outside, through the viewport, they could see consortium ships engaged with the human fleet, which had followed Ilara's team despite orders to remain hidden. "Your ship captains are as disobedient as you," Krithul observed. "No," Ilara replied with a slight smile. "They're human." The battle that followed would later be known as the Breaking of Chains. The human fleet, though outnumbered, fought with a ferocity born of a century of injustice. They were joined by ships from a dozen species, all broadcasting the truth about Earth's erasure from history. On the research facility, Ilara's team fought their way to the control center. With Zaxavor's help, they disabled the systems maintaining the temporal barrier around Earth. For the first time in 100 years, humanity's homeworld became visible to the galaxy again. "You don't understand what you've done," Krithul said as he was taken into custody. "Humans will change everything. The order we've maintained for millennia will collapse." "Good," Ilara replied. "It was built on lies." The return to Earth was a moment of profound emotion. The temporal barrier had preserved the planet exactly as it had been at the moment of its isolation. Cities stood intact, ecosystems flourished, and millions of humans slept in stasis, unaware that a century had passed. As the Prometheus entered Earth's atmosphere, Ilara stood at the viewport, watching the landmasses of her ancestral home grow larger. Many of the crew wept openly, some seeing Earth for the first time, others returning to a home they had thought forever lost. They landed in an open field outside what had once been Geneva, the location of humanity's final stand against the consortium a century earlier. As the landing ramp lowered, Ilara was the first to step out, her boots touching Earth's soil. The air was clean, the sky blue, preserved in time like a perfect memory. In the weeks that followed, humanity began to awaken. The people of Earth emerged from stasis to find their descendants returned from the stars, bringing with them allies from across the galaxy. The consortium, its lies exposed, fractured as species after species withdrew their support. A new galactic council was formed, one where no single species held dominance. Earth took its place among the founding members, represented by Ilara Chen, now Admiral of the restored Earth Defense Force. In the Great Hall of the new council, built from the reclaimed materials of Kurthel's research facility, Ilara addressed representatives from 100 worlds. A century ago, the consortium tried to erase us from history. They feared what humanity might become if allowed to take our place among the stars. They were right to be afraid. She gestured to the diverse assembly before her, humans standing alongside Tellurians, Velari, Ket, and even reformed Arcturians. But they were wrong about why. They feared we would bring chaos. Instead, we bring unity. They feared we would challenge the established order. Instead, we create a new order based on truth and cooperation. They feared our adaptability. Now that adaptability will help us all face the future together. The assembly erupted in applause, the sound echoing through the hall and beyond, into the stars that once again knew the name of Earth and its people. The erasure had failed, humanity had returned, and the galaxy would never be the same.